Okay, so we've been to the range and we've done a bit of shooting and we've collected our shells, and we've decided that we're gonna reload them. So how do we go about it? All right. So obviously, first thing you need is a press. Okay, there's different types of presses. Lee are pretty cost effective. They're good quality and not that expensive. They're basically your budget reloading equipment. You know, they sell dies, they sell the presses, and they sell all the different little gadgets that you need to process your brass. Now we need to basically remove the old primer. We've got ourselves a little shell holder, which is what we need to hold the shell while we operate it in the press. So that little shell holder just goes in here. Okay, that just sits there. Then our shells will sit on here and they will be decapped. You gotta make sure you're using the right die, which is this one here with the decapping pin. This pin will basically come through and we'll go through the flash hole and we'll just push out the old primer, the spent primer out, and at the same time it will resize the brass to the correct length. So, okay, one piece of equipment you may want to be worthwhile getting is a caliper, a set of electronic calipers. Now these will give you an accurate measurement of your brass, which is pretty important because you need to be able to stick within the regulation measurement. 44 Remington Magnum maximum case length is 32.65 millimeters, 32.65 millimeters, and if you want to trim to length, the minimum length of your cartridge 32.4 millimeters. So we zero them. So let's measure these. 32.28. So remember, the maximum length is 32.65 and the minimum length is 32.4, the trim to length. This case is 32.31, so it's way below the 32.40. Look at that. So 32.40 is the trim to length, but remember this has been fired, and when it actually fires in a straight wall cartridge will actually shrink. It will not expand. It will not increase in length. This is the next one, 32.22. The next one, 32.36. This one's a bit, oh no, actually no, hang on. 32.21. What about the next one? 32.39, which is just shy of the 32.4 minimum. So when we put it through the die, I will show you each case will have been resized to the proper length. Okay, so watch this. Put it in the shell holder. Okay, we put it through the decapping and resizing die. There you go. The primer has come out. It's no longer sitting in there. That's what a spent primer looks like. It's been shot. Alright, so now let's check the length. Remember, it was 32.2 something, right? Look at it now. 32.63. 32.63. The maximum case length is 32.65. So we're sitting at 32.6, and our trim to length, the minimum length is 32.4. So we're well within the accepted parameters. So we won't need to touch that case. That case can stay the same. Now let's measure this one before we decap it. Okay. 32.27. See that? 32.27. 0.27 millimeters. Now let's put it through the resizing die. Decapping and resizing die. Here we go. Try to catch the primer. And we did. Okay. There you go. Spent primer, decapped shell. Okay. 32.32, remember? Now it's 32.43. Remember the trim to length is 32.40. So that's well within within parameters. We won't need to touch that. Okay, what about the next one? 32.23. Okay, 32.23 before decapping and resizing. Let's have a look. Now let's measure the brass. .45, which is well within the parameters. The maximum length 32.65 millimeters. Trim to length, minimum length is 32.4. We've got 32.45 here. That's well within allowable limits, so that's fine. We'll keep that one. Thank you very much. And the last one. Let's have a look at this one. 32.26. Okay, now let's put it through the die. To decap, remove the spent primer. Now it's sitting pretty at 32.5. So there you go. Pair of calipers, very good investment. We've decapped and we've resized our brass. Now we need to clean the primer pockets to ensure a good ignition of our gunpowder when our shot goes off. So you can use different little tools. Okay. Up to you if you want to be meticulous and have them absolutely pristine, or if you just give them a quick clean. Up to you, entirely up to you. You don't have to do it exactly how other people do it. This is how I like to do it. This is how I do it. This is how I find it the easiest way of doing it, and it still achieves the aim, which is to have a clean primer pocket, so that when the new primer goes off, it doesn't have any issue igniting the powder charge inside the cartridge. Some are easy to clean, some others are a bit more stubborn. But you'll find a way of cleaning them. So I'm only showing you 4 cartridges here, just for the sake of showing you how I do it. But if you were doing, say, 100 bullets, you'll do each step at a time. You'll clean them all, you'll decap them and resize them all, and then move on to the next step. So So we've cleaned the primer pockets. Now what we need to do is put new primers in here. And so this is the large primer. So all you gotta do is open this up. Just a word of warning, guys. Whenever you handle primers, eye protection is definitely required. These things, you don't muck around with them. These things are serious business. So get yourself some eye protection. Okay. They come in batches of 100, little boxes of 100. If they land like that, these things are designed to flip them over. So you just move it around until you have the right orientation, which is cup, inside cup up. So then when your shell sits on there, it'll go straight into the in the right orientation. Okay, basically the primers just run along here to be lined up for insertion. Okay, so that just sits on here. There you go. As the shell comes down, the little doobie lucky goes underneath in the middle, and it comes out through the hole in the shell holder. The shell holder has a hole. Okay, the shell holder has a hole, and then this little doobie lucky comes out through and into the middle of the empty shell. So you can see it coming up. See how it comes up over here. Okay, so as we reprime, we open up the case mouth. We expand the case mouth so that we can comfortably see the bullet in here. At the moment, the bullet doesn't really sit quite easily. This one's already been expanded, so look at the difference. It just sits there nicely. And then when we sit the bullet, it will sit in there. It'll get pushed in the right distance, and then the die will press the brass back into shape around the bullet, and it'll just hold the bullet. See, this one hasn't had the mouth expanded, so the bullet doesn't really sit in there that easily. Whereas these two sit. Okay, so we'll go through the expanding process. Basically, you got a die, an expander die, that when the case goes inside, there's a piece of metal inside that opens up. Basically, imagine this is the top of the bullet, top of the case. This area here goes inside the die, and then there's a piece of metal that expands it so that the bullet can sit in there. Okay, so you basically run it up and down to however much expanding you need. So on the upstroke, you leave it up there, and then you click this manner here, put the primer in there, and then look what happens on the way down. Okay, look what happens here. It goes in, and then on the downstroke, you can feel the primer go in. Okay, you can see this sits on a spring, and with the primer sitting in the middle there, as it comes down, it gets pushed in. So that pushes That pushes the primer into the case, and then look what happens. You end up with a brand new primed case. You end up with a case that's basically ready for powder, ready for a bullet, and ready for crimping, and then you're off again. You can go to the range and shoot it. It is that easy. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, so we put the case in the shell holder, we raise the arm, expand the mouth. So there's a primer sitting in there. How it's supposed to work. Okay, so as it goes up, the mouth gets expanded, and then on the way down, you can see the case will get pushed up, and you can actually feel it when you move the ram, the arm of the press. Then you have a visual inspection. You make sure you touch it. The primer's got to be flush with the back. It cannot be too far in, and it cannot be sticking out. It's got to be flush, and that looks good. Okay, so these cases are primed. Just got another 2 to go. Okay, upstroke. Primer goes in. This comes down again. Visual and physical inspection, hand inspection. Yeah, that's nice and flush. Primers are sitting nicely of the case. Put it in the shell holder. It goes up into the die, and there it is. It got deposited. Now on the downstroke, beautiful. Look at that. Your new primer is ready to go, nice and flush. And the mouth is expanded. We put the gunpowder charge, and we seat our bullet, which will go onto the next die. That's the bullet seating die and crimping die.
What's up, world? Let's get it poppin' with CC Mixer. It's your boy Jeff Williams. Word. What's up, young world? It's Jeff Williams.
And Jay Lang.
You're listening to CC Mixer.
Where it's always in the
Shit. That wasn't supposed to happen. It's supposed to of the case. Put it in the shell holder. It goes up into the die, and then we apply the what's up with this thing? It doesn't work all of a sudden. There is a primer. There is a primer in there. Ah. There it is. It got deposited.